The Lord hath need of you, or someone like you. Written and read by Brother Jerry Valenti. On Sunday, the day after having dinner with Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, Jesus proceeds from Bethany to the nearby Mount of Olives and prepares for his entry into Jerusalem. An earlier prophecy in Zechariah 9:9 states that Jesus will enter Jerusalem riding on a donkey's colt, so he now needs a suitable colt to ride on. In order to obtain a colt, Jesus sends two of his disciples to a nearby village and tells them that they will find a colt tied up there that has never yet been ridden. They are to untie the colt and bring him to Jesus. If anybody asks why they're taking the colt, they're simply to respond, "Because the Lord hath need of him." The disciples follow the instructions of Jesus and they find the colt tied up in the village. As they're untying him, the owner sees them and asks why they're taking his colt. They respond, "The Lord hath need of him." The owner is satisfied with this response, and the disciples are permitted to bring the colt to Jesus. After reading the above story, one might ask what would have happened if the owner had responded differently. Perhaps something like, "Get your hands off my colt and get out of here. I don't care if your Lord needs him, he's my colt and he's not going anywhere." Obviously, Jesus knew that the owner would be willing to let his colt be used for this purpose, but what if he said no? Would that mean that Jesus wouldn't have a colt to ride on? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Yes, Jesus needed a colt, but it didn't necessarily have to be that specific colt. It just needed to be a colt like that one, that nobody had ridden yet. So, if for any reason that particular colt wasn't made available for Jesus, he would have selected another one just like it, and the entry into Jerusalem would have proceeded as planned, just with a different colt carrying Jesus. The process of selecting workers for Christ today is somewhat similar to how Jesus selected the colt to ride on. The Lord has work that needs to be done by people. For some part of that work, he may call you to do it. The Lord hath need of you. You may agree to do it, even when it involves a personal sacrifice on your part, or you may be unwilling to do it, for whatever reason. If you do what the Lord has asked you to do, you're blessed to be used by him. Imagine being the colt who carried Jesus into Jerusalem. If not, the work of the Lord still proceeds, just with someone else doing the work and receiving the blessing instead of you. So for yourself, which way do you want it to go? If the Lord needs someone like you to do something for him, are you willing to make yourself available? Or are you okay with watching someone else, someone just like you, receive the blessing of working for the Lord? Don't think for a minute that any of us is able to stop the work of the Lord by refusing to do it. His work will be done. It's just a question of who is blessed to do it. So, if the opportunity to do something for the Lord is presented to you, consider very carefully whether you want the opportunity to pass you by. Hopefully, you will be able to say, "If the Lord needs someone like me, then let it be me."